Hello everyone, welcome back to the Plunder Den. In this week's episode, we're going to be taking a look at some Napoleonic miniatures for Firelock Games' new game, Blood and Bayonets. So this was really an unboxing and a painting tutorial, and I've done that in the past where I've, unboxed the miniatures and then actually painted a whole set of them. Actually, only painted a couple of miniatures. In this one, we're actually going to do the entire box set. So I picked one that I wanted to focus on in this episode. And then we're going to briefly look through all the others. I plan on having future episodes where we cover, to train for Blood and Bayonets and other miniature box sets where we do painting tutorials. And I want to eventually do some battle reports for Blood and Bayonets as well. So Blood and Bayonets is a new game released by Firelock Games. And it's a Napoleonic game. It's not like a standard Napoleonic game. It's not a lot of rule set. It's more of a skirmish style. So quick game to play. I really enjoyed playing it at Adepticon. If you're interested in watching the demo of this game, I do have that on the channel here. I have an episode where the creator Rufus sat down with me and Drew, and we went through a demo of the game. So we did one round, and we did all sorts of different things. You can see a lot of the different rule sets and how the game kind of flows, and how to build your forces, which I found very interesting because it helped me decide what I needed to purchase for the game, actually trying it out and playing it. And I really did enjoy it, so it's something that I really wanted to get involved in. And it'd be interesting to another vein of things to do, terrain and other interesting things for the channel. Now, don't worry, I'm still working on the Trey Parker table, but I've got to the point where I'm starting to do things that I've already done on the channel, like docks and stuff. I don't need to build docks on the channel. You guys, I already have episodes on that. So I'm just kind of going to build those things on the side and then get more involved when I get to the very end, which I unveil the entire game table all completed, which I can't wait to do, and show off the whole thing, and that I'm really excited about that. So that's still happening on the side, but I felt it wouldn't be a very interesting episode because I've already covered that topic. So we're gonna spend some time doing some of these miniatures for Blood and Bayonets. Now my rules and stuff haven't arrived yet. A physical copy is being sent out by Firelock Games. I will do an unboxing of that. We will go deep dive through all that stuff as well once I get it. But we're going to focus on the miniature part of it. So on my journey to find miniatures, I spent a lot of time at Adepticon actually looking for some, and I didn't find anything that really piqued my interest for this game. Kind of following along with when I did the demo, I didn't really see anything that I wanted. So I went down to my local store, which is down in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and went to Century Box and bought a whole bunch of Napoleonic miniatures from them. They have a large assortment of things, and I almost got everything I needed, but I didn't have a lot of stuff to do with the sailors and stuff like the sea part of it. So there's actually a naval part of this game as well, a skirmish naval part to a Napoleonic game. I mean, this is pretty exciting stuff. So I'm really excited about it anyways. So I want to show that aspect of the game as well. So I needed to get miniatures for the naval part of it. So I went to Perry Miniatures themselves. So they're based out of the UK, and I ordered whatever I was missing that I couldn't get at Century Box, I got there. So that's what we're going to kind of look at, all those miniatures today. We're just going to do a brief look through all the boxes and all the different things. Some of them are actually just metal miniatures. And then, of course, we're going to take one of the boxes and we're going to build them and paint them and on the channel today. All right, so the one I decided to pick with, start with, is the 95th Rifles. So what really got me interested in this whole idea of the game in the first place is, I like TV shows like Sharp with Sean Bean and Horatio Hornblower, those kind of shows, and that's why I was really interested in the sea and the land components of this. I really wanted to add that part of it to the game. So I had to have a Sharp model, and I had to do the 95th Rifles. And when I did the demo with Rufus, he brought the 95th Rifles, and it's a good unit. I want to have it in my army. So I was on my quest to look for them. Now, I have a Perry box set that I could probably build the 95th Rifles out of, but I found this really cool set for black powder made by Warlord Games. and that's what we're going to build today. Now, the Sharp model is a different company, but I'll show you this one first. So this is it right here, the 95th Rifles, and you get all these miniatures. You get 16 metal miniatures in here, and one little doggy here. Now, there is no rules for a little dog in here, but there is for musicians. There's a buglist, and there's other officers in here that add strength to your unit. So this is a good little pack. Has enough 16 miniatures, which is something that we could, potentially build on this show. It's not so tough. There's actually not a lot of assembly in these ones because they're all metal miniatures. They're already built. That we do spend a lot of time basing them. So I have a technique that I use to hide the bases. Like, because they're metal, they're hard. You can't snip the bases off. So you got to incorporate it into your other base that they're going to stand on. They're too small. They're just on the bottom of the. You'll see when we get down there why I did it this way. And I'll show you how to hide them in there. Whoever built these ones did a good job hiding them pretty well. So we're going to get something similar to that when we're done here. Now, the other thing is the Sharp model itself. So in the picture here, this is actually quite a large, actually it's probably the size of this right here, more of a display miniature. But this box set actually came with two smaller 28 mil, which is perfect for this size that we're playing in Blood and Bayonets. So I'll show you on the back here. There's only these, you get these two poses. And I decided to go with the one with a rifle. It looks cooler, I think. I mean, they're fine, but I like this one better. So we're going to go with that one. And we're going to paint that miniature as well. Now, in the painting tutorial, I focus on mainly one miniature, but kind of the same colors are used throughout. If I change up some colors, like the sash around Sharp, there's a red. There's other colors that I added in there, but it's mainly going to be focused on one miniature. You'll see the progression of all the other ones being painted at the same time. I just figured it'd be easier to focus on one. And I've done that in the past where I just focus on mainly maybe four miniatures or one miniature while we're painting the entire army at once. All right, so that's what we're doing on the channel today. If you guys like what we're doing here in the Plunder Den, make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information when I start these kind of projects. All right, everyone, let's get down to the table. Let's start doing an unboxing and a painting tutorial. Okay, so let's start off with the unboxing. Let's take a look at some of the miniatures we got here. So this is your French Napoleonic basic infantry line. This would be your light infantry. And there's a different assortment of uniforms and different poses that you can do in the box here. I love Perry miniatures because they have a good assortment of colors, scales on the back just to help you out. Little history blurb there. There's more information always in the box too. They actually have cards and information inside. You get 42 miniatures in this box. So this is a really, really awesome set. There's drummers in there, officers, again, musicians and officers help your units. I needed to get a more elite. So this would be your grenadiers. French infantry here, so there's 40 in this box, so that's a good size box. So between the two lines you should have everything you need for French infantry out of these two boxes. And I probably, I don't even need to build all of these to get what you need for the game. And again, there's musicians and officers in all of these boxes. There's a big part of Napoleonic Wars, and it's incorporated in the Blood and Bayonets game, which is awesome. There's a image of the drummer that comes in this set, which is really cool. I really do love, overall, I love Perry miniatures. Their models are awesome. Now, these are all assembly required for these ones. They all come on sprues. They're all hard plastic. And there is some metal ones in here that we're going to get to in a minute. So I needed some cavalry. I enjoyed playing with the cavalry when I was at Adepticon. So we got a French Napoleonic cavalry here. I would say these are light cavalry. I wouldn't say they're heavy. They're Napoleonic dragoons that are appropriate for this game. And again, they also have a musician. So it's really awesome that there's all these extra characters in there. This set is really cool because you get the dismounted versions of them in the box as well. So you get 13 actual full-on horse models and 8 dismounted models. So it's really cool if you have dismounted rules. You have miniatures to go with that. Now, this is a new box set that actually was just released. In some areas of North America, you can't even get it yet, as the Skirmish in a box. So you got Napoleonic French miniatures, and you got Spanish skirmishers in here, which is great for the game. Something else that we played with during that demo game with some Spanish skirmishers. But even some of these could be converted to, was thinking, French and Spanish sailors, too. These are really, really cool miniatures. All sorts of different stuff in here. You really could actually just use this box, really, and make kind of a Spanish-French kind of conflict right out of a box. You got 65 miniatures in this box. I highly recommend this one. This has a lot of bits and bobs in it. Lots of really, you get cool head options, and you can turn your miniatures into all sorts of stuff. So to me, this is a must-have box. That was really, and it just came out. It's actually a brand new one that Perry Miniatures has released. So very, very cool. So one of the units that got me, the Chosen Men, the British 95th Rifles, and I went with this black powder set, opposed to converting some of my Perry miniatures. Mainly because I like the poses, and it was kind of cool. They're metal miniatures, so they're already pre-assembled, so save me some time. And I really liked the dynamic, different poses they had. I liked the little dog that came with a set, and it was a really cool, interesting set. Now, the only thing that was missing from this set, of course, was a model of Sharp himself. And I really wish I had models to represent all the characters on the show, but you could kind of have some of the ones in here that would fit nicely with that. So that would take care of our needs, and we're going to build that on the channel today. This is the British Napoleonic line, so just some light infantry. So you can see you can make the Chosen Men out of this one as well, but I'm just going to stick with regular British infantry line out of this box, because I already have completed my Chosen Men already from the black powder set. And again, nice little assortment of different things you can. Once I go into more details in building, I might build all the English line all at once and open the box, and we will do a video for that. So I figured it'd be better to just do these in individual videos. It would take a long time to go through all these boxes, but we will. But we'll do them more separately and take a look at them a little closer and do some painting tutorials on them, and just kind of the colors that I use to paint them. So that'll be very interesting. So then the English needs also their cavalry. So we got some British Napoleonic Hussars. So we got that box set for us. And so they have a counter cavalry for the French. So kind of making more of a French-English kind of set. But when I'm done here, you could legitimately play with the Spanish too. I would have enough stuff to do an entire Spanish army as well. So I have 3 forces being built from all these box sets. And, there's some things I can mishmash and make something else, but those are the 3 main forces I'll have is Spanish, English, and French. And this is just a straight-up Spanish infantry, again, to expand on Spanish. When we played there, the Spanish were helping the English, so you can use some Spanish infantry mixed with English infantry, and you kind of a mishmash there of the forces for your opposing side to Napoleon. So this is kind of different assortments, different things you can do. This is kind of an interesting box too, so there's lots you can do with this one as well. So there's a whole bunch of miniatures in all of those boxes there. More than I need to play this game, let's put it that way. You don't need that many miniatures. I just went a little crazy. And then I went and got all sorts of different miniatures. So I have different options. I plan on playing several nations and different options. So this is the Sharp model I was talking about. We already kind of briefly talked about it already in the intro. Again, this is kind of a showcase model. Plus you also get 2 smaller 28 mils in there. And I'm going to build the one with the rifle in his hand there. And one day I'll build that larger one. It's pretty cool. So these are some of the bases I have, actually from other Perry miniatures that I have. I'm going to use for some of the longer ones in the black powder set. This is an extra sprue that was nicely given to me when I was at the Century Box. They gave me an extra sprue for free of just some British infantry, which will work out nicely. Add some more miniatures. And then, of course, I needed artillery. So this is a French Napoleonic foot artillery. Victrix. I haven't ever bought anything from them, but this looks very interesting. I got a lot of good, people have said that they're really good. And so I'm going to put that to the test. I'm going to build some of their miniatures here. But it was the only artillery I could find. So, and I'm going to build a Spanish, French, and English out of this box. Even though it's a French one, I'm probably going to use some of the heads from the other Perry box sets that I have and kind of make my own English cannon and Spanish cannon. So this is just a longboat with sailors in it to represent... there isn't as much amphibious rules, but I'm going to just use the Blood and Plunder rules, essentially, for amphibious. But I wanted to have a ship full to represent sailors coming ashore. So these are the rest of the sailors in there, and you get a midshipman in that box. And now those are metal miniatures. So this is a metal resin set that I got from Perry Miniatures, a combination, which is really cool. So these are some of the bases I'm going to use. For the sailors, I'm going to stick with the Firelock Games smaller bases. So we got some plastic ones. I have some metal ones, metal bases here. Just for those dynamic poses where they're a little more weight needs to be on the bottom. I'm going to use the heavy ones. And the other ones I'll just use the light side. So then I have some other bases here. Looks like from Renidra. I've actually never bought anything from them as well. But they're good size. They're comparable. They're tad bigger, so my land forces will be on these bigger ones. They're slightly bigger. They're not a whole lot bigger than the Firelock Games ones, but I'm going to use them for the land miniatures, and then I'm going to stick with those Firelock Game ones for the sea bearing ones. So I had to get some commanders. This is Sir Wellington. If you follow Sharp, he's a prominent character in that TV show. So they have his staff here. Again, that also helps you in the game. There's another officer here. It's really cool. You get 3 in this set. They're all metal miniatures. And this camera work doesn't do them justice. They're really nice sculpts. I'm going to really enjoy building those and painting them up. They're going to look awesome. So I also had to get the French set as well. So this is Napoleon and his little team. And his other officer, and they're going to put that all together. It looks like all the other ones are assembled except for Napoleon. They left him off his horse. I'm going to have to do some trimming on that one. So we'll see. But anyways, again, another awesome set that I can't wait to put together. Like, look at these miniatures and details. Like, these are amazing. I'm super stoked to put these together. These Perry and these are all Perry miniatures. All these metal ones I got here. They were the ones I got from the UK, so they're really, really nice. All right, so more sailors. So I got different types of sailors. This one here is, I think, just your... Oh, actually, these are French sailors. They actually have French uniforms. That was what I ordered, just a set of French miniatures. So I had some French sailing officers. I had some on the longboat, the midshipmen for the English, but I wanted something for the French. So that's a French naval officer and some Marines. In this box here is your light sailors. They're just pistols and it would be kind of like a sea dog in Blood and Plunder, similar to that. And then in here, we have more sailors, but they have staffs and pikes and stuff, so boarding pikes. So I have a set of those. Actually, I got 2 sets of each type of sailor. So one for my French fleet and one for my English fleet. So I'm going to kind of just use the same type of sailor and paint them differently for the different types. And then these are also sailors, but they have long rifles. So I wanted to have the assortment. So you got sailors with rifles, ones with long pikes, and just like skirmishers with pistols and swords. And I plan on gluing them all on those Firelock Games miniatures, so they have lots of room on the ship, because I'm going to use Firelock Games ships to do the sea component of the game. All right, so let's start with our 95th rifles. Let's start building them. So we're going to need a few different things here. Now, the tester's glue I use for the plastic miniatures, so gluing together sharp will be used. I like this non-toxic tester's glue. It actually just smells like lemons. It's really good. It glues fast. And then for the metal, always just use Gorilla Glue, clear Gorilla Glue. That way I can glue the metal to plastic or plastic to metal or whatever. That stuff will glue anything together. If you leave your fingers there long enough, it'll glue them. So don't do that. Don't do that. That's a safety tip. Don't glue your fingers together. But for the metal miniatures, definitely I use Gorilla. So I got my huge miniature putty knife. We're going to use that for the drywall compound to build our bases. I got a sort of hobby knives, tweezers that I use. I have all sorts of different types of tweezers that I use. These are my sanding tools. These are really good for especially metal miniatures that we're going to be dealing with today. These are for clipping my sprues off, or if I need to cut any heavy-duty metal off, there's my big clippers. Those are really heavy. I also use them to weight things down to let them dry. I use that tool for a lot of things. And there's some larger bases that eventually I will use for my cannons, crews, and stuff like that, but not for this particular set. And again, just going through the two sets that we're going to be building here today, building and painting. All right, so this looks what they look like outside the box. I got kind of a reference picture here, so I can kind of see how they did theirs. Now, there's a lot of flashing, and there's lots of bubbling on the bottom, and but overall, they're pretty clean for metal miniatures. I'm sure that these molds have been used for a long time. I'm sure this is not a new set that's been around for a while. But definitely we're going to have to do some cleanup on here and get these all cleaned up and so we can glue them to a base. But I'm just showing you some of the different poses that we got going on here. Like this one's a really dynamic running pose. But it looks like you got, half of them of the boxes like duplication. You got two of the same. And then you got like officers like this guy. There's one with a sword. You get the little dog. There's a couple of unique models in here. There's like a sharpshooter that's got his gun on his feet. It's kind of an interesting little model. But, even the dog is like, yeah, there's no rules for it, but it adds to the table when you add stuff like that. It just adds more interest to your game table. There's one of the officers. And then, yeah, this is the guy I was talking about. He's kind of got his gun on his boots there. I guess aiming really well, spending the time to hit his target like a sniper. And then got a couple of guys with berets, which, if you watch the TV show Sharp, a few of them wore berets instead of their big hats. Or some of them didn't wear any hats at all. They were kind of a ragtag group, but they were... I wish I had the exact models for all of them. Would be really cool, but and they exist. I just have to go dig deeper, and maybe something I find in the future. I do plan on going over to the UK at some point to London and see Salute, and hopefully maybe that I can, on my journey where I go to the source where Perry and the Warlord Games are actually based out of, that I can fill in some gaps if I'm missing anything, or some cool miniatures that I can find. So that would be really awesome. So this is a sprue for Sharp himself. You can see there's a giant model on there. So that's the display piece I was talking about. Really cool thing about this is it already comes with this base, and it matches the size of the green bases that I purchased, but it's already textured. So I don't have to put any drywall compound on that one. That one's already done for me. Super easy. Wish they were that easy. All of them were that easy, but no. We're going to have to do some work here to get the rest of them properly based. So first of all, just sand everything down. This is after I removed all the flashing with my little sanding tools there. And why I have these little bottles everywhere is I just have them so they're standing straight or a pose that I want them in, so they drive that way. Now, the Gorilla Glue doesn't dry as fast. Takes a little longer, but once it binds, it's not come apart ever. So that's kind of what I want to go on here. So that's why I use my little paint bottles to kind of prop everything up. And then again, I'm showing you I'm going to build the one type. opposed to the other one. And there I have him assembled. I cut all the pieces out of the sprue with my little tools here and glued it together with this Tester's non-toxic glue. Like, again, I like to use the stuff that you can just do on your kitchen table. There's nothing here that's toxic. It's smelly. Even the Gorilla Glue doesn't smell like anything. Like, you certainly don't want to drink it or anything, but it's not toxic. Same goes for the primer. I don't go outside with a rattle can. I just use brush-on primer. That's the new Fanatic paint line here from Army Painter, and I love their brush-on primer. When it dries nice and smooth. You don't get little speckles from the spray paint and stuff like that. I prefer the brush-on. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to brush on the primer on all these miniatures. So I do that first to seal them in. And then I start fiddling in one of the drywall compounds. So you can see that there's a little metal base on all these guys. And we want to hide all that, so it looks like it's just in part of the ground. So I use this DAP drywall compound that we have over here in Canada. I'm sure it's available elsewhere, something similar. But it's got a pink color to it. So once you put it on there, you'll be able to tell when it's done, it'll turn white. And then I'm going to use my little huge miniatures here palette knife. And I'm just pointing out that I don't have to do the sharp model himself because he's already got a nice, cool textured base already. And we're good to go with that one. But you can see that the base actually fit nicely with these green ones, which is awesome. So we're going to spend time on the base here. So I'm going to show you how I add this drywall compound. And if you've watched this channel, I have done this before. I believe I did it with my British Army on the channel here. I showed you how to base those miniatures as well. Those were Firelock Consortium miniatures, and they also had a metal base that I had to hide on the bottom. They were the metal ones. I still have some of the metal ones. I think they've moved to a resin model now, so they might be different than they were before. And I did get if I don't recall, I got some British ones with a few of them with resin on them. Resin models, and they were a little easier to base and assemble. So this is really how I start off. I just kind of take big chunks of drywall compound with my putty knife, slap it on all the corners of it, and then add a little water to. I always have water. Add a little water to my palette knife there. Not a ton, just a little. Wet it up, because this drywall compound is a lot easier to work with when you just a little bit damp. So then I come over, and then these little blobs that I put everywhere, I just kind of work it around the base here and fill in all my gaps and fill all my spots. And make it look like, and I don't want any of the stand showing. You can see the stander was showing there for a sec. I just keep working this around the base, so I can't see the metal base at all. I don't want to see that. I want it to look like they're standing in mud or ground or something like that. Anything other than a metal standard. That's what we're going here for. And there's a lot of expensive different putties you can get. I recommend drywall compound. This stuff works great. It's easy to work with. It's super cheap. You can get a big tub for like $7 or $8, and that's Canadian dollars. So for my American viewers, it's virtually nothing. So to get a big tub of that, and I could do probably all my miniatures for this Napoleonic game will be done with that tub. I won't even use half of it probably. So you can get lots of your miniatures done with relatively low cost using this drywall compound. And the cool thing is it goes on pink, and you know it's done when it turns white. So this is after I've applied them all. You can see that they're starting to turn white on the edges there. It takes some time. I usually wait 24 hours. I just leave them alone, go do something else. And this is why it's good to do these kind of projects while you're working on your major project. While I'm working the Trey Parker table, I got time to, base a few miniatures. I just kind of filmed it as I went along. And then go back to building the table, and then go back and forth. So I'm always being productive, doing something in the hobby space here. So once that's all dry, I always use craft paint. Now, the reason why I use craft paint is it's super durable, super strong, and it's going to seal all that in on the bottom there. So your drywall compound will not chip, break, do anything of the sort. You'll add a lot of strengths. Plus, I paint my boots at the same time. Might as well make them black. Don't be afraid to use craft paint, especially when you're just doing basing. To me, it's just like the terrain portion of the model, and you can use craft paint. I am going to be releasing an episode very shortly here for Idols of Torment, where I painted most of the miniatures with just craft paint. I used a few miniature paints when I got to the finer details at the very end, but the majority of the models were done with craft paint. And it's really just using that same combination of colors. I had this idea of doing them light and dark, kind of. It's hell and heaven. That's where the game takes place. The worlds between worlds kind of thing. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked here, but I just wanted to explain that craft paint can be used for a lot of things other than just terrain. It's helpful for a lot of things. So once I seal all these bases in here, let's get back to our Napoleonic miniatures here. We're going to seal these all up with this black paint, and once it dries and hardens, you got a really strong base. And we're going to add our undertones, as we always do in all my terrain, with the same craft paint, 3 colors, and that's going to add a lot of more strengths to these bases as well. This is kind of a formula I've been using for my miniatures for quite some time. It works great. The 3 colors give you a really good muddy look. Great for World War I, great for undertones. So even when I'm putting my flocking on afterwards, I got a really nice look to the base already. And of course, you probably have noticed I don't really stick my miniatures on a cork or whatever. You can do whatever you want. I just, once that base is sealed in, you don't have to worry about wrecking anything, because it's craft paint. It's super strong. You're not going to chip it. You're not going to leave fingerprints in it. I just hold it like that. And this is a personal preference. Again, if you're more comfortable sticking it onto some kind of device, or sticking, some people use poster tacky or something on the bottom and put it on lids, whatever works for you. I'm not criticizing the way anybody does anything. I just, this is the way I prefer to do it. It's simple for me. Everything's primed and it's solid. It's not going to wreck the model. And maybe it's just the way I've gotten used to painting them. I find it distracting having them glued on something. I feel like I don't have as much control, which is kind of weird because people do it for control. But anyways, it's personal preference. Do it any way you like. There is no wrong or right way. I think if you got to the same product at the very end, I don't think it really matters which way you go about it. But if you're interested on how I do it, that's why I show it on this channel. This is kind of how I put them together. But every time I add another color of craft paint over top of another layer of craft paint, you're adding more and more strengths. And I use the multi-purpose one. Make sure you use the multi-purpose one. The matte one kind of is not as strong as the multi-purpose craft paint. There is different types of craft paint. A lot of people just assume it's just craft paint, but full card is definitely, I found, the best of all the craft paints. There's a lot of cheaper ones out there that you can attempt. They're not bad. They're okay. But I find them not as good as full card when it comes to durability and strength. There's just something about their paint. It's a little bit stronger, durable. I've done entire terrain pieces where I've just used their craft paint. And I didn't need anything else. Didn't need Mod Podge or anything else in there. There's just so much strength in the paint as it is. Of course, I add a ton of wood to my pieces too. Well, that does help a lot of strengths too as well, right? All right, so you can see what I'm doing here. I just have a flat little square brush, and I am just kind of touching and highlighting. It's not really a dry brush. It's kind of like a touch-up. I'm kind of trying to leave some of the colors of each type underneath, and it just gives you a nice kind of a varied ground color. And I use this Pueblo at the end here. So that was Real Brown, Bark Brown, and Pueblo. By the way, I didn't even mention that. I'm going off on tangents here. But I just wanted to let you know which colors they are. And they're the same ones I always use. So if you watch this channel, you probably know what colors they are anyways. You don't even need to ask. Those are the ones that I always use on this channel for most of my terrain pieces and basing. Same thing, same colors. Again, I wanted that same lived-in look. All my pieces look like they belong to the same part of the world. So there, I probably put a little too much orange in there, but that's fine. You can just work it around. And actually, when this stuff dries, it's not as bright as it looks right now. It'll dry a little darker, and it's actually turns to the appropriate color you want for a mud look. Like I really like this for World War I miniatures. These combination of colors works great. So I'm just showing you. I'm going to do all of them. So like I said in the intro, we're just like focusing on that one miniature really. And then the other ones are just coming along for the ride. Just assume that I did everything the same way on all the other ones. Like I said in the intro, there's a few of them that have a tad different color. So this is, I usually use Barbarian Flesh from Army Painter. It's my favorite flesh color. And then I do a wash over top, their flesh wash. And I usually highlight it if I got to fix things or highlight things afterwards. I use their tanned flesh because really these kind of work good together, all three of these products. So I'm just going to briefly show you. You probably can't even see it's not in focus. I think my finger is more in focus. But I just kind of showing you how I apply it. I have a smaller brush. And I just kind of add the flesh color in. Now, I'm not like super careful, and these techniques I'm showing you will not win you a golden demon. This will get you a decent looking army to field on your game table. Some people really hate doing this part of the hobby. They love the gameplay of it, which is, everybody's not. This is not for everybody. So I'm just trying to show you something that's quick and easy to do, and it looks decent on the table, and that you can get your miniatures out and you can start playing. Sometimes you get caught in the, well, I'm never going to get my miniatures painted, so so I never end up playing the game, and it just gets pushed aside and then go to the next game. No, you're determined to paint those miniatures, so you just got to have a quicker way of doing it. I just chalk in some colors, add some washes, and then come by and back and highlight. Essentially, that's my technique, and it's to me it's just simple, easy way to paint. Now, there is a lot of, if you're going for showpieces and you really want, some people are really deep into the paint. Again, this is personal choice. I'm not telling you which way to paint it. If you want to go really in depth and have your guys highly detailed, that's entirely up to you. And I've seen some amazing miniatures out there. There's some great painters out there that I inspire to be a great painter. And one day, maybe I might spend some time and actually do a showpiece kind of painting. But if you watch my channel, I'm more of a painterly kind of person. I don't really like detail work. I'm more of a kind of get the big brush out, paint it up, and then put some dry brush on it, and kind of multi-layers of paint. That's kind of how I like to paint. And so this is kind of a somewhat tedious, but I find that this way of painting it, you can get rapidly through all these miniatures fast. So this is the flesh wash I was talking about by Army Painter. So once that barbarian flesh is done, you can see I did all the miniatures in the background. And now I use a kind of a more fluffy brush, let's put it that way. So it takes more of the wash into it. Don't use a pointed brush or whatever. You're not going to get any wash in it. You're just going to be kind of spreading lines all over the place. Try to get something that's a little fluffy on the end. I usually just use my brushes that I've abused. And they were good for wash brushes. They get all torn up and stuff like that. And then they end up becoming wash brushes. And then once they do not even do that, they become my glue brushes. And then they end up in the garbage. So they kind of have a life span there. All right, so I decided to use like an angel green here for their uniform. It's kind of a darker green. And we're just going to chalk it in. Now, if you end up covering some of the straps, it doesn't matter. You can come back and paint over top of them. I try to be careful, but that's the beauty of this. Just you don't need to be that careful. As long as you get it on that color on all the places that you want it to be seen, I think that's more important than anything else. And then because you're going to cover all those other details over with other colors, right? So it's always good to have undertones of other things over top of things, and it just makes it more simple for yourself. Don't panic. I didn't stay in the lines. It's okay. It'll be okay. You could paint around it and paint over it. But like I said, you want to cover the entire area that you plan on having that color in, though. So that angel green is another army painter color. And I want to go ahead and I used a green skin, kind of a orc color, for the base of their pants. Now, I ended up doing, if you watch the Sharp program, a lot of the 95th rifles, none of them have the same pants color. Some of them are burgundy, some of them are brown, some of them are bright green, some of them actually match their top. There was no rhyme or reason to it. So I kind of wanted to make it feel a little more ragtag like that. So I ended up doing several different colors for their pants, not just this green skin. On the model that I'm currently working on, I'm using that color. And I'm going to put some washes over top of it and darken it up. And then we're going to come back and highlight that too again. But I'm just showing you that that's the color that I'm using on this particular model. And again, you could go with the same as the top, but I like that division of color. I don't know, it just seems more dynamic than having the pants and the top be the same color. I don't know, it's distracting for me. Maybe it's just, again, back to personal preference. I have to have different colors, different tones. And watching the program, I'm like, great, they don't have matching pants on any of these guys. So I'm like, this is perfect. I'm just going to do what I want here and fill it in. So now you can see my hand. That's it. You can't see sometimes it's really hard to. I have a little apparatus that I'm painting around, so you guys can see what I'm doing here. And sometimes I forget that you stuck your hand in front of the camera, and I'm not really watching the camera. I kind of watch to see where it is, and then I kind of look over top of my camera because it's hard to paint when you're trying to show it on the camera like this. But I get around it. So you get the idea. So I was just showing you I did the Sharp model in the same color, but I also added a bit of brown on the top of his boots. So that's how he looks on this leather brown here. This is the color I use, a Fanatic paint. From Army Painter. Then he used this Death Guard green, this Goblin green. These are some of the other colored pants I did. I even did some dark stone. I did a pair of gray pants. And like I said, I did some of that brown pants as well. So you got brown, you got gray, you got different shades of green, you got light green. And I just kind of, like I said, I just wanted to be more of a ragtag group. So I changed up the color of their pants. So this is after it's all done. We have all our different colors on there, the two different colors. So now we're going to move to, there's a lot of black on the 95th rifles. A lot of their gear is black. Their hats are black. They have black patches around their neck and their arms. So I'm going to use this matte black from a Fanatic paint from Army Painter as well. And we're just going to chalk it in. Now, I am getting a little more careful because we're starting to add colors over top of colors. So I'm not being as lazy-bazy as I was before. I'm being a little more careful now to try to chalk these colors in a little bit better and not... because I don't really want to put black in other areas that I don't plan on having it. Black's a harder color to rectify. You have to put a thick coat of something over top to clean up the mess. So be a little careful with your black and make sure you hit it where you want it. Now, if it's going into a dark brown, well, then you can probably hide it pretty good. But I don't suggest you do that. Just stick with chalking in your black and just be a little more careful about it. So I also got to do the cuffs by the arms. But I'm just showing you the hat underneath, the bottom, the top. They're kind of larger top hats kind of thing, which is very prominent in the Napoleonic Wars. That's one of the universal things that everybody had, these giant hats. It's kind of like they're honor guard or whatever, but it looked good. Now the other thing I also do is I always put an undertone of black on my metallics, so swords and guns and mechanisms, anything that's on their gear that might have metal on it. I always put a little bit of black on there. It's a good undertone, so when you put your gun metal or any kind of metallics over top of it, it looks a little more weathered or darkened. So I always like to paint it black first before I add some metallics over top. So I'm just showing you I did a little black on his chest plate there. He's got a uniform that has a lot of black on the front on the Sharp model. And really, I'm just looking at the reference of the box. I mean, a lot of these things I'm just looking at what the box looks like and try to kind of, from the TV show, the box, kind of just making choices here. And also the colors that I have available in my arsenal. So gunmetal is from RE Painter, is my preferred metallic color. I think it's the best one. There's a lot of ones out there that are decent, but I find Army Painter's gunmetal is probably the best, especially when you do it over top of blacks and stuff like that. So I also got to do the details that are on the hat. They're metallic, and I'll come back and do those green stripes later. There's stripes need to be done on the hat. Just kind of showing you in where I'm adding the metallics. There's a little bit around the canteen here, on the edges of the canteen. Now, I didn't show you in the show, but that sword, I had to like makeshift one because the actual piece that was on there broke off, and I had to glue another piece on there to make it look like a sword. I actually had bits left over from when I trimmed these out of there, trimmed all the sprues and stuff like that, and that was unfortunate. I don't know, it was barely on. It was kind of broken already, so I tried to glue the original one on, and let's just say I dropped it into my gray carpet, and I looked for hours. I said, you know what, I'm going to make up a new one. So I had to MacGyver one on here, which I did, and it looks fine. Once I paint it all, you can't tell that I glued just a piece of metal there. It was sword-shaped. It looks okay. But unfortunately, it was the one I was working on, of course. Anyway, so this is after I've added all this other colors. I just wanted to show you the Dragon Red and Pure Red and Greedy Gold. Those are the other colors I did. Like there's like the gold bugle. There's the ropes hanging off the bugle. There's the sash on Sharp's chest. All the tops of the swords I did Greedy Gold. So I'm just kind of showing you some of those miniatures. And I didn't mention, but I went back and got those hats with green. Now, I also used a skeleton horde to cover around where the equipment is. And I didn't even show that, and I'm not sure why I didn't do that. But anyways, I'm going to tell you I did it. And just to darken up around the equipment and stuff and fill in any gaps that I didn't paint. And then I'll go back and highlight it later. Now, I also use this matte white because the 95th Rifles has a white trim around the collar and around the cuffs. So that was fun to paint. Very tiny brush, and so that was a little harder detail, I have to admit. But if you don't want to add that, you don't really need to. You got the black there, but it looks better with the white. And I'm just showing you the various paint jobs on some of the miniatures. I did add a little bit of dynamic yellow, mixed it with a little bit of brown to give that dirty blonde hair on Sharp. Again, something else, because I wasn't really focusing on the Sharp model, I was focusing on that other model. And this is just, I used the same brown undertones on this dog, and then I just added some white and black paint to the top to add some spots and stuff, and to make it look like the dog that they had on the box there, so similar. So now we're going to look at some of the basing materials I use. I got huge miniatures. These are two, this mossy grass and this yellow grass. I love these two. Now, I don't use them. Funny thing is, I don't use them like the way they are in there. I always take them out of and do a 50-50 split and mix them together. When they're combined together, they look fantastic. I should really ask Huge Miniatures, can they just release one that's mixed together? They don't even have to make a different product, just mix them together, and they got a whole nother color. Then I got some other, like some tufts and stuff. So I got burnt, overgrown grass, and then there's some other ones that had like little sticks and stuff in it. These are really cool. I got these actually at Adepticon when I was out there. And then just some standard green tufts. So you got I got a little assortment of tufts that I want to add. So I'm going to add the grass first to these miniatures before I start putting the tufts in. I just use white tacky glue. I picked, I kind of leave a pass in the middle where I can still see the mud. This is after I've combined. See that color? I love that color. It's so bright and vibrant. It looks fantastic, especially if all my Napoleonic miniatures are going to have those on there. It looks great on there. So once you got that going on there, I always leave a little mud pass, or I leave little spots on the stand, and that's where the tufts are going to sit. So I kind of already planning out where I want my tufts. I try to not put the tufts in front of the front facing of the miniature, just so you can see the whole miniature. I don't know. If you put too many tufts in front of you, you can't really see your miniature anymore. They get hidden in tufts and grass. So you can see all that grass I've completed, and you can see there's spots. So I'm going to point to them that I've left open that I plan on putting some tufts on. So I kind of planned it out prior to. So I just put the glue down, and I just pinched that on with my finger. It looks great on there. You don't have to use any fancy tools or anything like that. Just use your fingers, and you get a nice, efficient look. So then you can see I've added the tufts in those little spots that I left. Now, I didn't cover all the mud. You can still see there are some areas I decided not to cover at all. You want that combination of mud and grass and different plant life. It just makes your bases a little more dynamic. And you cannot see anything remnants of those metal bases that they were sitting on. And as they should, it looked like it's all a part of the ground. So I'm really happy with these. And relatively, it did take some time for certain steps to dry. But I think I painted this entire army over 3 or 4 days. The painting part, maybe a day's worth of painting. But again, you have to let things dry and come back, especially with the basing technique I'm showing you. But it's great to have these going while you're doing other things, right? So I got to wait for these to dry. I got plenty of time to go build, my Trey Parker table and the terrain that I'm building over there, the other stuff, and then come back to these. So just something to keep going. So let's go check it out on the table. Here's the box, just a reminder of the 2 sets. The Sharp Rifles actually is War Games Atlantic, just so you know. And the set here is a Warlord Games for Black Powder. If you want to recreate this and the set that I got here, that's the miniatures that I used. Most of the miniatures I got for Blood and Bayonets is Perry miniatures, the bulk of them. But I really like these ones specifically, so I went after them for my chosen men here. So this is them after all done. I have them with some of my, this is my European farm terrain, which actually I use for blood and crowns. But I do plan on building some specific ones for the Napoleonic era. There's another look at all the other box sets. So I do plan on doing future episodes and covering some of these. And just showing you how I build and paint these ones. All right, so that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.